Alright, Indra versus Suzaku. This is my favorite fight so far in the spin-off. This is canon to the main series of Ragnarok. It's a prequel. So I hope you guys enjoy my full fight commentary. Before that though, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any content like this. Stay up to date with all the Ragnarok news and information. Enjoy. We see that the arena has been fixed up, and Shiva says, alright then, finally, it's Indra's turn. Shiva looks really cool here. He's flanked by Brahma and all the other gods we really saw in his flashback, aside from Rudra. I'm pretty sure the two gods we see here are Varna and Agni. Agni is the fire god, and then Varna is the skinnier one. It seems Agni says, and his opponent, Varna replies, ah well, and Brahma finishes it off saying it's Suzaku. Outer god unfair, once feared throughout Valhalla as the divine professional, one of the legendary 4 gods, Assassination Corps. We see Suzaku's group there, and he is the leader, says Brahma. So Suzaku is the leader of this feared assassination group. We've already got some insight into this group, but now we get the epithet for Suzaku, which is the unfair. Varna says assassination what? And Vishnu says, so what you're saying is Indra cannot be negligent here. Varna says, oi Shiva, what do you think? And Shiva says, don't know. They'll say, huh? What the hell, Peak of Svarga? Quit playing dumb. Give us a serious answer, damn it. And Shiva says, quit being so loud. Back then, I wasn't the one who fought Indra. It was Rudra. And actually, me and Indra have never fought one-on-one. And besides, that was long ago. As he was when he lost, the Indra from back then, for him to be the same, there's no damn way. So this is telling us Indra is going to be stronger than when he lost to Rudra. Which is why, as far as how strong he is now, I don't know. At any rate, let's just shut up and watch our friend kick some ass. So all the Hindu gods seem to be, pleased with this statement. Shiva looks unbothered. Shiva seems to believe that Indra has this in the bag. We now see Indra. Apocalypse Arena fighter passageway, so Indra's on his way to the arena. And he's stopped in the hallway by White Tiger, I believe, one of the 4 assassination gods, one of Suzaku's men. White Tiger says, yo, you're Indra, right? And Indra says, you need something? And Tiger says, I know your match is soon, so sorry about this. But as a martial artist, I request a bout. Indra says, huh? Tiger says, Indra, even in our world, you're well renowned. This is a rare opportunity. As a lowly warrior god, I must cross fists with you. Indra takes a puff. He says, your name, this is a really cool panel, by the way. Says, your name? And Tiger says, Baihu, I see. And the guy behind me, your name? So Indra sensed that there was another one behind him. This is another one of the assassination gods. I believe this is Black Tortoise. And Tortoise says, oh dear me, and here I thought I'd suppressed my killing intent, oh dear. And Indra's unbothered says, that's some real shallow suppression. So proves that characters in Ragnarok obviously have sensory abilities, can sense one's presence. At this point, Tiger says, oh man, the unfair won't believe this. Damn, the jig is up, I guess. Well, in that case, time for us to act, and both Tiger and Tortoise start moving toward Indra with pure killing intent. Tiger says, time for us to act like proper assassination gods. Any means necessary. That's the motto of the 4 gods. And this is a pretty cool panel. They're staring down Indra. Indra now smiles and says, sounds good, let's do it. He's preparing to fight them 2v1. We cut back to the arena now as Yara is announcing that the round is beginning. Everyone, thank you for waiting. Apocalypse round 1, our 3rd match is about to begin. So facing the Indian Pantheon's thunder god Indra is Suzaku the unfair, says Hermes. This is one to watch. Ares says, Hermes, just now you called him unfair. And Hermes looks at Ares a little surprised and says, surely you know, don't you? And Ares just lies here. He says, are you serious? I'm the god of war, aren't I? Of course I know. I'm just making sure you know, okay? And then Hermes just kind of like ignores him and says, well, that's good. And Ares says, anyway, no matter how unfair he is, in a match like this with everyone's eyes on him, he can't pull off any tricks or nefarious tactics like that, can he? And Zeus chuckles and says, outer god unfair is often said. His other name, though, is the divine professional. Any job he's given, he will assuredly complete. His completion rate is 100%. He's a professional through and through. So they're giving him the gimmick of the professional assassin that does anything to win. And to get it done, anything goes, says Zeus. Yara gets a report here, and the crowd is like, hey, what's the holdup? What's going on? Something's wrong. Like, why isn't this match started already? And Yara announces that Lord Indra, who is scheduled to partake in match 3, is currently both absent and unreachable. So apparently they can't find him. They don't know where he is. That's a little bit weird considering like he should be very close to the arena. Like nobody's just looking in the hallway, I guess. But it is what it is. They can't reach him. They don't know where he's at. Crowds in the arena are shocked, including the likes of Shiva. And we see Suzaku is very firmly standing in the arena. He knows what's happening here. If Lord Indra does not appear by the start time, says Yara, he shall be disqualified. His opponent Suzaku, then as per stipulations of the tournament, will be deemed the winner. So this seems to be the plot. They want to jump this dude, make it so Suzaku can advance in the tournament without actually having to break a sweat, or at the very least, you know, they injure him enough to where he gets to the arena and Suzaku will have a much easier time, it seems. Crowd is going crazy. They're like, what are you thinking? What, are you kidding me? Don't mess with us, Indra. Did you piss your pants and run away? And Zeus says, this is the fearsomeness of that man. I suppose this too is strength. So it seems that Zeus understands what's happening, but he's gonna allow it because Zeus is here for all the chaos. The Hindu gods are saying, Shiva, Indra of all people, there's no damn way he'd run away like this. Agni says it must be something happened. Varna says no doubt about it. And Vishnu's like, let's go, Shiva, we have to go help Indra. Shiva just sits there quietly. And he remembers the Indra fight, right, with Rudra. And this is an awesome panel, probably the coolest panel we've ever seen of Indra and Rudra, you know, facing off with the lightning everywhere. We see that, you know, Rudra's scuffed up. It looks like the fight may have already begun, but Shiva was sitting there watching, and Indra says, aren't you coming too? Even if it's 2-on-1, it doesn't matter to me. Shiva then says in present day, it's fine if it's Indra, that guy won't lose. And the narration at the end says side match begins. We see Indra preparing for war. The lightning god has no gaps. Of course, we know that Black Tortoise and White Tiger were jumping him, but we didn't know where the third member of Suzaku's group was. Will he show up? We'll have to see. We see White Tiger rush forward and attack Indra. Every time this happens though, we see like crackles go off. It's almost as if these crackles represent Indra seeing these attacks coming. Indra's eye is also pretty unique. So I wonder if he does have an ocular ability, and it'll just be revealed later on. But basically, as White Tiger rushes in to throw a punch, Indra has that crackle, and then he counters and punches White Tiger right in the face, drawing a bunch of blood. There's lightning all around Indra's body as well. It's really cool. White Tiger thinks to himself, now kill him, Zon Wu, which is Black Tortoise. Black Tortoise now jumped off the pillar and is rushing down Indra from behind with these knives. He throws the knives, Indra dodges out of the way. Tortoise can't believe it. He says, he dodged that? What the hell? But too bad. We're definitely not letting you get to Suzaku. And we see Qinlong, aka Azura Dragon, the third member, emerge behind Indra. He looks to be standing on one of the pillars. It almost looks like he could be raised up, but I think that this is one of the pillars. Qinlong tries to off guard Indra, but again, you see this crackle effect and a close-up on Indra's eye. Indra once again is able to react, counter, and land a punch on Qinlong, but it doesn't send him flying. Qinlong still did get off his attack, still tried swiping his sword at Indra. We see that Qinlong takes pretty heavy damage, but Indra was able to land his attack and evade Qinlong's sword. Tortoise then says, impossible. Before, I was letting my killing intent leak out just enough. So he's talking about when Indra realized that he was going to be getting attacked by multiple people last chapter when he was talking to White Tiger, but then still sensed Tortoise hiding in the shadows. But he kept his completely suppressed, talking about Qinlong. So Qinlong didn't give any tells that he was in the shadows, yet Indra still sensed him. That surprise attack from his blind spot, it should have definitely worked. Qinlong says he didn't just evade it, he managed to counter it. And Tiger says, this asshole, clearly he's well versed in many on-one fights. Again, close up of Indra here with lightning surrounding him and the crackle effect. Qinlong says, we need to reverse our evaluation, and Tiger says, yes. Thunder God Indra, I heard you were one step below the god of destruction Shiva, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And Tortoise says, and here I thought that amongst the Hindu pantheon, you were all one-on-one fools. Indra says one-on-one fool, and he starts dying laughing. One-on-one fool, huh? That's great. And Tiger says, oi, what's he laughing at? Now here, this implies that they think that he's potentially on Shiva's level. Indra goes on to say, back then amongst the pantheon, betrayal, lynchings, sneak attacks, ambushes, and deceit were all the usual. That sort of anything goes was commonplace. It was a damn terrible place. And amongst that harsh, savage world, that guy, that one-on-one fool, he managed to make it to the peak of Svarga. So he's talking about Shiva, and he says, just how incredible is that? Lightning all around Indra. This is awesome. I wanted lightning to be part of his fighting style. It almost looks to me like potentially this lightning kind of gives him feedback, and potentially maybe the lightning is kind of aiding his sensory ability with his eye. We'll have to find out. As Indra charges up his attack further, he says, we all know it well. That's exactly why, to surpass Shiva. And at that moment, you see Indra blitz down Tortoise. At the last second, Tortoise realized that the attack was coming, barely managed to react in time, got his defense up with his arms, but he still got sent flying. And even though he got his guard up, he still took massive amounts of damage, spits out a ton of blood from his mouth, as all he can think is fast. Tiger is absolutely befuddled. He's looking at where Tortoise just got hit, but Indra's already behind him. Tiger realizes again, last second, tries to block. Too late. Indra hit him with a body shot. Tiger's bleeding more. He thinks to himself, I couldn't get my guard up in time. But this is the end for you. As Qinlong once again is now behind Indra with his sword, preparing to strike him down. And we get this dialogue that says, back then in that savage world, the weapon that I tempered and refined, no matter what surprise attack came and no matter how many came at me at once, is my lightning fast counter. This is insane, because effectively, like, what we have here is that they thought that Indra was going to be weaker than Shiva, but then I mean, we obviously don't know if they truly know how strong Shiva is, but now they think that that's not actually the case, that this guy's probably on par. And now Indra himself is saying, what I did to surpass Shiva was refine and temper his lightning fast counter. And at this moment, what you see is that he does react to Qinlong, turns on him, and slams him with this attack. Epic panel. But then he continues and says, and that's not all, also my lightning fast preemptive strike. So it's almost like a precog. He knows where he needs to attack before he actually needs to attack, and he lands his attack, but it may just be instinctual. I think it's tied to this lightning though, like I'm saying. But obviously he lands his attack on Qinlong. White Tiger tried attacking again, and then Indra sent off that preemptive strike, hits White Tiger again, drops him to the ground. And then now, as he walks away from Tiger's body, and it seems like he's beaten down all these people, he says, when these two blades come together, their name is Vajra. The actual kanji says lightning fast, God fist. Vajra. As we see the carcasses of these three other gods, Indra says, sorry about that, I gotta get going. They're barely struggling to try to get back to their feet. And he says, if I got stopped at a place like this, then beating that guy would just be a fantasy. So he does intend to try to fight Shiva and defeat him. He honed that ability to get stronger. We don't know if he had actually surpassed Shiva or not. Tortoise says, I finally understand, you're strong, really strong. But, and then all of a sudden, Indra stops in his tracks. He notices something and he tries to react in time, but then these ropes grab hold of him. And unfortunately, we don't have to beat you in order to win here, says Tortoise. As long as we keep you from the arena, it's our win. So he's holding on to Indra. We cut back to the arena now. Suzaku's standing in the middle of the arena on the battlefield, and Shiva does not look happy. Yara says, it's about to hit the time limit, but Lord Indra has yet to appear, which means that this match goes to Lord Suzaku. Suzaku then says, please wait. Yara says, huh? We cut back again now to the side battle. Indra had gotten out of the ropes. He punched the shit out of Tortoise, and he says, just stop already. Any more of this, you know you'll die. Tortoise is destroyed, man. His face is all bruised, swollen to a pulp. Looks like he's the last one fighting. He says, just try and kill me. Even if you do, we're still the winners. This shows how resolute these guys are to fight for their leader. At that point, Indra has this crazy expression. He notices something again with the crackle emphasized, flips around quick as hell, and Tortoise says, what? Why are you here? And we see Suzaku emerging behind Indra. He came from the battlefield. Indra's surprised as hell at this point, and Suzaku's staring a hole straight through Indra. Indra says, what are you planning? You here to fight me as the leader of the four gods? Whatever, doesn't make a difference to me. Suzaku chuckles and says, how like you? Thunder God Indra, true to the rumors. No, you're even a greater warrior than the rumors suggest, which is precisely why. And he pulls out one of the cameras that they use in the arena to like keep track of the fights with the audience. Tiger, Tortoise have no idea what he's doing. They're saying, why are you doing this, Suzaku? And Suzaku says, this is precisely why. I simply must fight you. Crowd is shocked at this point. Indra's shocked. He says, I don't really get all of this. But to sum it up, you're basically saying that you came all this way just to get beat down by me. Suzaku says, not quite. I came all this way to beat you down. Or, to put it how you Hindu gods do, let's have a one-on-one. Then see Suzaku say the words, from here on out, this is our one-on-one. How about it? Now we see Ares, Zeus, Yara, Shiva all reacting as they're watching this fight on the big screen because it is taking place out of the arena. But it still is an official match by all standards we know. Ares says, wait a minute, is it okay to let them do this? Hermes says, do what? Just look, right when we were wondering where he disappeared to, he decides to start the match somewhere else all on his own. And then the other ones, clearly they were doing some sneak attacks beforehand. I mean, they must have been talking about Suzaku's men. Ares lifts Hermes up off the ground at this point, and Hermes looks extremely sinister here and he says, and? This is the apocalypse after all. A tournament to decide the strongest god through pure violence. Ares gulps and sets Hermes back down. Hermes continues and says, status, reputation, nobility, none of that matters. All that matters is strength. No matter how or why. If you lose, that's it. Throughout that, we see images of Ku, Wukong, Belial, Ahura Mazda, all these monsters. And Hermes says, isn't that right, Lord Zeus? When Zeus hears this, his veins start pulsating. Man's extremely excited. Zeus then says, as long as you can prove your strength, you're free to do it however you want. That said, that man Suzaku, more than I'd initially thought, he really is my kind of guy. The dialogue there is interesting because they're deciding the strongest god, yet we know a ton of the strongest gods are actually in the main series. So I think it's just the strongest in the tournament, but that might lead to Zeus wanting to join the tournament. Obviously, we know he takes that final spot, so we'll have to see how this all plays out. We then cut back to Suzaku versus Indra. Amazing panel here of them facing off. Suzaku's in a martial arts stance. Indra's ready for war, aura all over the place. Black Tortoise is like, why are you here, Zook? If you just waited a little longer, it'd have been our win. You'd have been unscathed, scot-free. We won. We did our job. For the sake of winning, any means necessary. Wasn't that our motto? Our very essence? Azura Dragon thinks to himself, Indra's strength is far beyond any of our expectations. White Tiger thinks, for us four gods who only care about wins, taking such an unnecessary risk is not like him at all. So this is out of character for Suzaku. A lot of people thought maybe he's just a righteous guy, but for whatever reason, he has decided to take this fight, which is something he wouldn't normally do according to his men. Suzaku says, if this were just about winning, then you might have been correct. But in this apocalypse, Indra is not the only one whose strength exceeds our expectations. You see Wukong, Ku, and actually Morrigan as well. Thus, any of the gods who advance will have to grow and evolve by experiencing the trials of fighting the strongest. Therefore, I too shall experience fighting the strongest, and if I can't evolve here, then I can never rise to the top. That is my decision. I actually like this, I'm not gonna lie. I was wondering why he would do this, but he was sitting in the arena, he's probably thinking back to, the previous two fights. He saw the immense power of Wukong and Ku, and he's like, you know what, man, at my current level, I can't fucking beat those guys. I gotta push past my limits somehow, and the only way to do that is by fighting. Then there's a close-up of Indra's face. Eyes very prominent, lightning all over the place. He looks poised to strike. We see Suzaku sweating now. He says, yes, this is it. The purest, strongest opponent. That's a weird statement. Does he think Indra's stronger than the two previous men? Indra pushes forward to Suzaku, goes to attack him. It looks like Suzaku initially tries redirecting, but then has to resort to putting a guard up. And while he blocks, he's thinking to himself, and the purest, harshest trial I have to face. Now, when he got his guard up, it wasn't enough. The attack pushed right through his guard just like it did to his subordinates the chapter previously. He thinks to himself, so fast, but if I'm in your range, you're in mine. That implies to me that the attack sneaked beyond the guard, didn't necessarily just overpower it. Now when he thought that you're in my range, he was already too late because Indra had already landed a second attack on Suzaku, landed a clean punch straight to his face. The crowd is concerned at this point, and Brahma from the crowd says, seems like he's managing well. And Shiva says, yeah. Varna says, not just managing. And Agni says, compared to before, he's far sharper. Vishnu chimes in and says, he really is lightning fast. That really is Vajra. Awesome panel of Indra. Shiva didn't really say much though. We see that attack sent Suzaku flying back. He's bleeding from his nose. And White Tiger thinks, Suzaku. Suzaku doesn't fall to his back though. He catches himself and wobbles, but he stays on his feet. Shiva then screams from the crowd, now finish him off, Indra. Amazing shot of Indra with lightning flickering out of his eyes as he rushes down Suzaku to try to finish the job. But he stops dead in his tracks. something tipped him off, probably due to, you know, his lightning ability kind of giving him like some kind of a sixth sense. We see this dark aura envelop the battlefield, and Suzaku is in this stance. He's like, what's wrong? Are you done already? Indra doesn't say anything, and Suzaku starts strolling forward. He says, in that case, do you mind if I make my move? This is a sick ass panel, bro. As he continues walking, his stance exudes even more confidence. He starts staring a hole through Indra, and Yara says, this is slightly irregular, but the third match of the first round is official. In the first exchange, the one who completely dominated was the thunder god Indra. Nevertheless, the one leisurely closing in on him, no different than if he were out for a casual stroll, is Lord Suzaku, one of the 4 assassination gods. Suzaku's eyes look crazy here, and he says, now then, hit me again. I dare you. Indra collects himself. He says, fine by me. This asshole, he's up to something, but that doesn't change what I have to do. He rushes forward, blitzes in behind Suzaku, gets completely behind him, and he tries to strike him from the back. We see that he throws a punch, but his eye goes wide. Blood splatters all over the place, and we see this image of Indra. His hand is completely mangled. Crowd is shocked. They're saying, what just happened? And then somebody from the crowd notices, look at that. Suzaku has wings. No, that's not it. It's something else entirely. And we get this insane shot of Suzaku's new ability, which basically looks like wings of like knives, bro. Like feathers of knives, kunai, just sprouting from his back, and that's exactly what Indra punched into. White Tiger says it's only round 1 and you're showing that off already? And Zeus chuckles to himself and says, now that's a surprise. Who'd have thought that Green Horde would turn out to be the one who has that? Hermes says, that sacred treasure of the Chinese pantheon, to see it in the flesh, what a treat. A countless number of blades, freely rearranging themselves according to the will of the user. Its name is Crimson Ripple Chirping Phantom Sword. So confirmed, this is a weapon. It's not an innate ability. This is a divine weapon. And Zeus knows of it, which prompts the question, like, who previously wielded this? Suzaku rearranges the weapon to where it looks as if it completely envelops his arms now. Somebody from the comments said it looks like Alex Mercer from Prototype. It looks sick. It looks like he has claws, and it does fit the aesthetic of him being the vermilion bird. Indra is now sweating. He recollects his hand, draws a fist, bloody fist. Looks awesome as Suzaku just continues to walk him down with this dark aura taking over the battlefield. And Yar says it's a total reversal. The thunder god Indra's barrage of lightning fast strikes has been repelled by the sudden appearance of Suzaku of the 4 assassination gods' armor of countless blades. And now it's Indra who's sporting serious wounds. The crowd saying Indra's right arm, doubt he can use that anymore. But they don't know the resolve of the thunder god. Suzaku looks very pleased with himself. He says, this match, that should settle it, huh? That is, it would if you were a normal opponent. He thinks to himself, even though he's lost an arm, his fighting spirit isn't wavering in the slightest. Indra doesn't say a word. He just enters his fighting stance once more. He finally speaks and breaks his silence and says, come at me. My Vajra hasn't lost yet. The other assassination gods think to themselves, a counter? And Suzaku says aloud, I see. That's now your only option. But against my chirping phantom sword, such a counter does not exist. And he throws out a ton of these spikes from his weapon. They close in on Indra. It looks very similar to the Gaybold technique from Ku. And Yara says this time it's shuriken. We don't see the effects of what happened just yet, but it seems Indra outpaces them and springs forward, leaving a ton of lightning in his wake. And then Suzaku lunges forward. This is one of the coolest panels of the entire chapter as they both meet in the middle for this epic clash. But right before they can connect and blows can land, Indra's eye goes wide. He notices that the kunai actually stuck into his back. It looks like they wrapped around him and hit him like a boomerang, and it opened up a moment of opportunity for Suzaku because that obviously slows Indra down when he realizes that he was hit in the back. And Suzaku says, that technique of yours, it has a glaring weakness. So we see that Indra still tried to attack you with his left hand, but Suzaku, with the kunai attack, surprising Indra, was able to land his attack, and he leaves this massive slash straight down Indra's chest. The narration says, is it hopeless against this shape-shifting weapon? And Suzaku says in the final panel of the chapter, even one-on-one, it's my victory. This man has crazy aura, bro. Crazy aura. I love this weapon. I really like Suzaku as a character, and Indra is in a world of trouble, man. So the first thing we see is this narration that says Valhalla is the place where all the gods live together. Here we see Sukhavati the heavenly place of Buddhism, Eden, Olympus, and Takamagahara. Takamagahara is the Shinto pantheon, is where Susanoo is from. We saw it in his backstory. Interestingly enough, no Asgard here when they show these heavenly places, but Valhalla is a place of beauty and plenty, with many of them. It is a place where the high-rank gods reside. We see this picture of a god and goddess. We don't know who these people are, though. We see narration that says the purity of the heavens, and in contrast, we see this. So even in the homeland of the four gods, the land of the Chinese pantheon, there was a place where the high-rank gods resided, and separated from that was where the four gods resided. So the place where the high-rank gods resided is called Shangdi. So it'll be interesting if they go further deeper into this as this tournament goes on, because obviously Wukong's from here as well. This place looks really almost like dystopian. It's like one big tower of supreme technology and then all these other slums around it. And the place where the lesser gods and low-rank gods live is called Morio Town. And Morio just refers to like general spirits. And the low-rank gods scraped and struggled endlessly here. Between those two worlds, there was an unmistakable, unfillable gap. We then see young Suzaku. He gets confronted by this god of pestilence, Gyukuki, who says, "Don't you know the rules of Morio Town, outsider? No disobeying the strong gods. Got it?" Suzaku says, "Huh? That's a good rule. I like it." This other god attacks him and says, "You brat." And he tells his men to get him and jump him alongside him. We then see the rest of the four gods, who weren't officially called the four gods at this time, but they're watching from one of the rooftops nearby. Tortoise says, "That outsider, he's got some guts, huh?" As Suzaku continues to fight these three other gods. Dragon says, "Shall we bet? Who do you think will win?" And Tiger says, "Nah, I got a better idea," as Suzaku's being choked in one arm. Tiger jumped into the fight and launched a kick on Gyukuki, helping Suzaku, but it really didn't matter because Gyukuki's group defeated all four of these gods together. He said, "You brats, you really thought you could beat me with a sneak attack? Don't forget, trash will always be trash," and they start walking away. All the four gods have taken pretty significant damage here, and Suzaku says, "Why did you guys all help me?" Tiger says, "We weren't helping you. Those guys have always just pissed us off. That's it." Suzaku says, "I see. That's a good answer. I like it. You guys, join up with me." The other gods are like, "What?" And Suzaku starts walking toward where Gyukuki and his men went and says, "Let's go." Tiger says, "Let's go. Go where?" And Suzaku says, "Their movements, I've already got the gist of it." The other gods are confused. They're thinking, what is this man talking about? And then it cuts back to Suzaku now running back up to these guys and fighting them again. And now he's got the upper hand on them and he apparently defeated them, seemingly single-handedly. Narration says, from the beginning, something about him was clearly a cut from a different cloth. They had a hunch that if they joined up with him, he'd take them anywhere they could imagine. Not just in Morio Town, but anywhere. So this is apparently what spurred them joining him and becoming his subordinates, I guess. It's apparently just his rapid adaptation within battle. So when he fights people, he gets his ass beat for a while, but then as long as he's still kicking, he can basically analyze and break down their movements, break down their fighting style. So what he said earlier in the tournament makes a lot of sense, right? This is why he wanted to come fight Indra. He saw all these other strong fighters before and he's like, you know what? The way I am now, I'm going to lose to these people. I need to fight stronger opponents because he's going to keep getting stronger from doing it. Because that's kind of just how his ability works. It might have something to do with his eye. We don't really get that explained. We're now cutting back to the actual fight. It was as if it was just a matter of course. But they're referencing Suzaku slashing down Indra and basically, comparing that to what he did back then, where it's a situation where he clearly analyzed Indra was getting beat down, but now it seems like he's taking the upper hand. All the gods that are watching are surprised except for Tiger, who's got a smirk on his face, as Suzaku says the word prick. He might be calling Indra that, I'm not sure, but Indra is hurt. Suzaku thinks to himself, just barely, but still, your technique, I've already seen through it. He said that part aloud. He then calls back the shuriken from Indra's back that were stuck in his back to his arm. Serious wounds on Indra all over, the strike down his chest, bleeding from his mouth at this point. Suzaku's still battle damaged pretty severely too from the earlier encounters of the fight. But Yara says speed is known as the lightning god's domain, but Suzaku just absolutely crushed that god's speed. So they're trying to hype this up like Suzaku outsped Indra here. We obviously know the context behind what happened. I broke it down in the last breakdown. But Yara continues and says, this is the leader of the four gods, Suzaku. Zeus comments and says, ho ho, the rumors don't lie. It really is an interesting weapon. That crimson rippled chirping phantom sword. That's obviously Suzaku's divine weapon. And Hermes says, thinks to himself, those shuriken he seemed to have dodged, but they managed to reroute themselves for a second attack. So I pointed this out in my breakdown last month. He initially did dodge them and then was caught off guard by the shuriken, which probably led for the opening of Suzaku landing his attack. To defend against that your first time seeing it, that will be difficult. Further reinforcing he was probably caught off guard there. Although, and he trails off a bit. We then cut to Shiva's group, where Varna is saying for Indra to get hit by a surprise attack like that, it's ridiculous. So they're kind of pissed off. Shiva thinks to himself, Indra, just what the hell happened to you? That almost implies like he thinks he's weaker, or maybe he's just saying, what the hell happened to you right now? Like, he didn't even register what transpired either. You can interpret that how you want, but Indra is bleeding pretty profusely here. It's streaming all the way down his arms, down his chest, everything. Suzaku's staring him down, and he's muttering to himself, he's still standing. The match is overwhelmingly in my favor, but I won't let my guard down for an instant, and he launches his shuriken back at Indra once more. Now, Indra's lightning effect does seem to alert him here. The crackle goes off and he tries to evade it. He jumps to one of the pillars, and he actually ends up behind Suzaku. Looks like Suzaku's kind of surprised, but one of the shuriken did land in Indra's shin, goes out the back, like where his Achilles is, and Indra looks like he's just straight up cooked in this moment. Suzaku looks awesome in this panel and says, I told you, didn't I? Your technique, I've already seen through it, understand? Yara is at a loss for words. She's like, what? Shiva, Brahma, the rest of them look extremely surprised at like Indra's lightning speed, and Ares says he already can't use it anymore. Indra's now concerned, thinking to himself, again, why is it that I can't react to an attack like this? Varna says, is he tired after fighting the others? And Brahma says, no, that's even more ridiculous. Indra's the kind of guy who gets stronger the longer the fight goes on. In a drawn out fight, he should be getting even sharper and faster. Hermes says that's it, although is such a thing even possible? No, in theory it should be impossible, but still. Ares says, Hermes, if you notice something, then quit muttering to yourself and spit it out. Hermes continues and says, Indra, he has a basic strategy for a surefire victory, his Vajra. Taking everything into account so far, that technique consists of moving and attacking. Vajra is composed of those two very simple techniques. In other words, the moving is his high-speed approach, and then he evades to set up his attack. No matter the situation, he always maintains the upper hand. Once he's entered your range, even though he strikes second, with that speed he's so proud of, his attack will always land first and he dominates. Hermes says it's simple, but that's exactly why he has polished it and sharpened it to its absolute limits. And yet, that technique, by its very nature, when he switches from moving to attacking, in that instant, in other words, the link between the two techniques, there's intrinsically the slightest gap. So the gap between moving and attacking. Ares says absurd, something like that, to call it a gap, that's... And Zeus says, a gap or a weakness? It may just be an instant, and may be almost nothing, but if the timing is even the slightest bit off, then it can't be used to claim victory. And if you can seize that tiniest instant, if you can do it, if he can do it, then perhaps we took the god called Suzaku far too lightly. Amazing shot of Suzaku. This is one of the best panels we've had in this entire fight, of these two just staring each other down. Indra like darkened, standing there bloody, looking back at him. This fight is the best in this series so far, bar none. I'm 100% bought into this. Indra stands tall and he says, you're strong. He has a smile on his face and Suzaku calls it out. He's like, why are you smiling? And Indra tilts his head up toward the sky and says, I'm damn glad I entered this tournament. Seriously, to get to fight with a guy as strong as you, as I am right now, there's no way I can win against this guy. He thinks that part internally. Which means that right here, right now, I got no choice but to complete it. My incomplete third blade. Hype is real. Lightning is going all over the place around Indra. The aura is ridiculous. He's got another technique. Suzaku looks shocked. He says he's coming. This is unmistakably Indra's final attack. He's charging up all his lightning. He says, this technique, I came up with it in order to take down a certain guy. So this is the technique he has been saving for Shiva. We're going to see what this shit is all about, man. Is this shit truly worthy of putting him past Shiva? We're going to find out. He says, I guess you could call it my ace in the hole. Looks like a straight savage charging this shit up. Tortoise says, that technique, this is bad. There's no doubt about it. This will decide the match, says Dragon. Tiger says, I don't know what this ace is, but don't look down on our leader. So he's the one that's 100% like resolute. Suzaku's gonna find a fucking way to win. Suzaku then stands there ready to take it. He's got a smirk on his face and he says, bring it. And Indra, while he's still charging up, says, I'm bringing it for sure. And that's the end. But the last thing it says is the final clash, and the attack name is called Vajra Astra, but they don't show us the attack. Of course, we're picking up right where we left off with Indra unveiling his third blade, Vajra Astra, the one technique that he saved up to try to take down Shiva. The narration says full power and full throttle. So he's loading up, he's charging up this attack. We see Suzaku looking on and he's thinking, bring it, Indra. But he looks shook, extremely worried. He's thinking to himself, someone as strong as you, I'll devour you, and then I will climb even higher than this. Then narration says the word that, and it gets completely cut off as Indra seemingly just ripped off one of Suzaku's arms in an epic panel, blood everywhere, as Indra stands behind Suzaku. The narrator now continues and says, that was what Suzaku, whose concentration was at its utmost limits, was able to catch a glimpse of in his mind's eye. Only a few moments in the future, a future that had yet to occur. Now this is pretty wild. Does this mean that he has some form of future sight? This would be crazy. Obviously Buddha has a version of something of a future sight, but it's more so just like watching the actual soul, and it's contingent on being able to see, you know, the light of the soul. This could potentially be an even better version of that. We'll get some more clarification, as what we just saw didn't actually transpire. Suzaku is sweating profusely now. He says, just what was that? He possessed an extraordinary insight and observation, and during his deathmatch with Indra, it sharpened and refined even further. So he's continuously getting stronger, as we talked about. He keeps adapting. He's getting stronger and stronger as this battle goes on. That's why he wanted to fight him. So now even a new unknown technique was not out of the realm of his adaptation. Obviously, we just saw his face, how worried he was. He obviously just saw how that all transpired, but he still hasn't lost his resolve. He thinks to himself, but I've seen through it. He pulls out the Phoenix Wing Dragon Slaying Sword. Basically, he took the gauntlets that were on his arm and, you know, kind of reformed them into the sword, completely abandoning the defensive capabilities of the weapon. And this is apparently the Crimson Ripple Chirping Phantom Sword's ultimate offensive technique. But of course, as I said, the technique abandons all semblance of defense, a true kamikaze attack. Originally, this was only supposed to be used when he had the help of the other 4 gods, his subordinates. That's what they're thinking to themselves as this all takes place. Narrator says, Suzaku was certain Indra's imminent third blade was unmistakably a sacrificial one-hit certain kill move. Undefendable and unavoidable. The same thing they said about Kukulin's technique. Indra's technique was created in order to defeat the one he lost to. That technique took his full speed and with no regard to approaching or evading, poured it entirely into power. It shows a montage of him training at the peak of Svarga, and you know, he was basically training against the mountain, but every time he would try the technique in exchange for the tremendous power, in order to contain the uncontrollable speed required by the technique, his body would inevitably self-destruct. And thus, it was an incomplete trump card because he couldn't effectively use it, his body would give out. But Suzaku was certain that the incomplete self-destructive attack, right then and there, had evolved into an unavoidable one-hit certain kill. So he perfected it, he saw through it, he saw the future, he sees that he has surpassed his limits and perfected his technique, so it is dangerous. Suzaku thinks, but I will evolve even beyond that. If I can't defend against it, if I can't evade, then I will counter it with all of my strength and I will cut him down. This is savage. I love this fight so much. And Suzaku is there to take it head on. I love it. He's like, fuck it, I'm gonna meet you in the middle. We're gonna see who comes out on top. Because right now, nothing is impossible for me. Guy has absolute self-belief. This fight is sick. Perhaps it was moments, or maybe even minutes, but in that space where time was so compressed it lost all meaning, as we see this montage of everybody reacting to the fight, watching it on the monitors, that instant finally came. We see the lightning envelop the stage, man. Indra is pouring aura all over the place, man, as Suzaku braces for impact. Indra launches into the air. He takes this weird positioning though. It looks like he's flailing or falling, and Suzaku gets caught by surprise by this. Narrator says at first glance he thought, could it be that is Indra's full power, or is it just him falling over? No, That attack made no use of his destroyed right arm, nor his remaining left arm. For Suzaku, it was an attack he could not even fathom. The attack is called Third Blade Tridyakadga. Basically, he was falling to flip over, and it's like a rolling thunder type of kick, which is actually kind of badass because he's, you know, the god of lightning. Thunder's involved with lightning. I don't know if that was intentional, but MMA fans know what that is. Narrator says, of course, it's an attack Suzaku can't fathom, or at least it was supposed to be. Against that kick, Suzaku met it with the perfect counter, and he met it with the sword. He was going to just take it head on. We see Indra, you know, extremely focused here, extremely resolved. Lightning crackles all over, blood splatters. We don't see the aftermath. The dust is settling. Who got hit? Is this the end, says Yar, the ring announcer. We see this massive hole implanted into Suzaku's shoulder, man. The kick landed. This time it's for real. Blood spurts out of his mouth. He collapses down as like his left arm is just like falling off his body. He's like, I see. I thought I countered it perfectly, but in that moment with that timing, he changed the path of his attack. So he did not only avoid my counter, but he landed his own attack. You know how fast Indra has to be to pull something like that off? It's actually crazy. Like, Indra is extremely fast, and as this tournament progresses, I can't wait to see how much more detail we're going to get into that speed in terms of scaling it against other characters, because this is extremely impressive, especially against somebody like Suzaku who has this crazy adaptation. Suzaku, as he's falling, simply says, a splendid technique indeed, as his sword shatters. His boys are beside themselves. He thinks to himself, don't make that face, it's fine. His movements, I already have the gist of them. We can still go even higher. And he passes out. That's sick because he lost, but in that moment, he figured out the technique. And if they were to rerun it, who's to say Indra would win the next time around? Indra looks down almost as if he's in disbelief as to what he just did. He's sweating all over the place. Yara screams out, it's over. Round 1, match 3. The winner is Thunder God Indra. And Shiva and his crew pull up on him. He says, you guys. And Shiva scoffs and says, you sure cut it close. Brahma says, and yet somehow, over the course of that fight, it seems like you found it. That new special something. And Indra says, yeah, but still, if I hadn't been against someone as strong as him, I'm pretty damn sure it wouldn't have worked. I ain't one for empty praise, but I gotta admit, being able to fight against him, I'm proud. Round 1, match 3, Indra versus Suzaku, match duration 14 minutes and 13 seconds. Deciding technique, Vajra Astra, Tridyakadga, winner, Indra.